Y'all up? Or did y'all go to sleep early? Because unless you've been under a rock, news is traveling fast. Apparently, Paloma has been sent to the Shadow Realm. She is either chosen to self evict, or she has outright quit, or they have chosen to medivac her due to the fact that she is physically unable to perform. This is very shocking. Um, I want this to be stated. I'm in no way, shape, or form happy that she was in that much of a state of mind that she could not continue. Um, but my approach for this video is going to be a bit different. I'm basically going to discuss the pros and the cons of her being now removed from the game, allegedly. Because I don't know if this is for a fact, but feeds are down right now currently. You rewind back, you can't see nothing of Paloma. People are in different rooms. I'm hearing Jasmine almost quit herself. That tells me the Women's Alliance are scared now because the jig is up. And see, you got to understand, with Paloma leaving, they don't know if Alyssa and Brittany are still up for eviction. They don't know if the vote even matters anymore, if the vote is now negated because Paloma's gone, forcing those two to compete against the two remaining nominees. It wouldn't be fair if only one person competed against two for two spots. How does that person who was picked for backstage unknowingly, unbeknownst to what it means, how is that fair to that person, especially week one, to be put in that type of a situation? I don't think that's fair whatsoever. I'm all about the game being as balanced as humanly possible, so I hope it doesn't go down that route. The only fair way to do this is to scrap the America's vote because we've already lost a player and lose two players in the first week. You're just going to have to cut what you were going to do later. Or instead of two doubles, just bring a triple. Something like that. You know what I mean? But that's my thought process on that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's get into the pros and cons of losing someone like Paloma. No matter how I may feel about the fact that she was bringing the cavalry through on the anti-black side of the game, I got to be honest. Very deadly player, very dangerous. Um, I definitely thought she had the potential to not only be an Apex Productions pet, but maybe somebody who could go further than the top six that I predicted her to make in my worst to first. She ended up being much better than I originally thought based off of her bios. Um, I think, underestimated what she was capable of. But then again, I did my worst to first under the assumption that Monte No Negro wouldn't be off code. So I guess I have a right to be wrong there because I came into this game under assumptions that he would stick to what his frat would want him to do, not what his little head wanted him to do. But that's neither here nor there. Um, I feel like number one, we might as well start off on Monte No Negro. This girl Paloma, who he's done so much simping over, it impacts him directly so much, and here's why. It directly impacts him because a lot of what Monty was building outside of Kyle involved Paloma. If you pay very close attention to the type of game he was building himself up to playing, he kind of wanted Kyle as his 1A alliance, and he wanted Paloma and Alyssa to possibly be 1B. Now, I think he does have a decent relationship established with Ameerah, but I think he wants something romantic, or he at least possibly wanted to pursue something romantic with Paloma. And I think now that she's gone, he's going to be strictly platonic the rest of the way. That gives him one less ally if he would have had a showmance. Now, in theory, this allows his target to not grow as exponentially, but it also guarantees when Kyle does decide to backstab Monty, Monty has less. He has less people around that are willing to keep him around. If you get what I'm saying. I think Paloma, there was a chance she could have possibly aligned with Monty enough to want to go after Kyle, believing she could get the house to turn on Monty right after Kyle's gone. Because I truly believe the smarter play is to get rid of Kyle than Monty for a lot of these players. Because I think Monty, the way he started off this game, is highly likely he won't get a vote at the end even if he makes it. I don't even think he'll make jury. Let me be specific, but I really do think. Damn, I'm over here roasting mugs. It's late as hell at night. It's like 1 a.m. I'm going in, and see, I'm going in like unironically. You feel what I'm saying? Like I'm just keeping it a beam. But in terms of Monty, this man has done so much to ignore Taylor to prop up Paloma. He has done so much to not care about what Taylor's going through. He contributed to stumping her out in the wrestling room. Then he threw his body on top of Paloma's when it was time for her to get stumped out for the same reasons. No matter how you shake it, he comes off very bad. And there's really no way for him to m- make up for this unless now that Paloma's gone, he actually changes his game completely to support Taylor, realizing that she could just replace Paloma in all of those alliances. Now, I know that's me asking for too much because the guy invested too much in hurting her game. But a lot of what made him invest in hurting Taylor's game was Paloma being there. And when you're black and there's no girl that you no longer risk it all for around anymore, that should wake you up to reality a bit and take you out of the dream world that Inception put you in, bro. Inception. Call back to the rant from earlier today, coach. What can I say? I gotta give y'all a 2 a day. It's the least I can do. But yeah, so needless to be said, I think Monty's game is going to take a hit, coach. Mainly because he has invested a lot into the Paloma basket, and he hasn't invested nearly enough into others' baskets, besides maybe Kyle. He entertains the men's alliances. He entertains Mamba. He's more loyal to Mamba, but now that Paloma's gone, can he afford to be more loyal to Mamba? I really do think Monty's entire game has been flipped upside down. And then if you add to the equation that Taylor gets to stay, Monty's worst nightmare happened in a day. Exposed, huh? I don't need Paloma's face up there to slay. I'm going crazy in these streets. We going crazy. So what you need to understand is Monty's game is in the tank. He made a huge mistake. He shouldn't have took the sister for granted because now this might change the entire twist and its implementation this first week. It might be scrapped completely because we already lost someone. Tomorrow might just be a veto comp and an explanation of what happened to Paloma for an hour. You feel it, dig me? Because how are they going to continue their story when Paloma's no longer in it when she was the main storyteller of the initiative of the narrative? That's another conundrum they have. Now, do they just pass the torch on to Alyssa? And that brings me to Alyssa, someone else who had a lot of eggs invested in the Paloma basket. What can I say? It's not even Easter, coach. Hold on, let me hook up the charger to this laptop. I got a feeling I got a classic on my hands and I don't want it lagging. All right, we hooked up now. But like I'm saying, coach, hold on, I ain't even got it set up right. See, I knew I just plugged and played. You feel it? Dig me? Old school Super Nintendo type scenes, settings. You know what I'm saying? Just threw the shirt back on. You know, I'm really on the Grizzly. I'm really on the Grizzly. But anyway, so like I'm saying, coach, in terms of Alyssa, her game took a negative impact as much as Monty's. Now, here's the thing: Alyssa was always more loyal to Indy from Brazil than she technically was to Paloma. It actually hurt her all the things that happened to Paloma along the way. And before I even went live, she started to come to grasp with the fact that this might be something beyond reconciling or fixing before the end of this season. The Shadow Realm may await. And here's the thing: now that Paloma's gone, Alyssa has to realize what Indy was saying was sense. She has to realize now more than ever they have to keep the entire group solid. If any of them fall off a cliff, if any of them start to think the other side of the grass is greener, they are going to make a huge mistake on the as told by Ginger side of the game. And I'm really taking y'all back with that because you got to know the theme song to get that bar. So understand, this is a tough situation here for every member of Six in the City, but most importantly, it's tough for Alyssa because she loved the option of Paloma or Indy. She knew Indy was the most likely option to be targeted by more people in earlier situations, so Paloma was a great backup choice because from a social standpoint, they can keep up with one another. And they were basically girlfriends, best friends within the house. But they also, being best friends, it brought in the worst in each other. I'm hoping Alyssa can possibly see something to gain in possibly working with Taylor now because she lost Paloma. Let's be honest, Alyssa. Is Jasmine that loyal to you or is she loyal to Ameerah? Is Amira that loyal to you, Brittany, or Indy, or is she loyal to herself? Because she telling everybody's information for a certain amount of wealth. Let's talk about it. So no matter how you shake it, Alyssa and Monty, I think their games got impacted the most here. Now, I'm trying to go in order based on who I think got impacted the most, but I'm just going to start naming people. Kyle, I think because he had some alliances with Paloma, his game did take somewhat of a hit. But because Kyle is somewhat of a rock star amongst the white players, I'm just going to keep it real, the non black contingent, that puts him in a fantastic situation long term with or without Paloma. And in fact, anything that hurts Monty's game more than Kyle's, technically from a net positive standpoint, he's positive over negative because it forces Monty down relying on Kyle more because Monty's too stubborn to admit he was wrong with Taylor. See, if Monty was willing to admit he was wrong, admit he was at fault, understand that clearly Paloma lied to his face, and see, that's information he'll never get any type of grace over because he believes she was right, and then she got sick, basically, for all intents and purposes. She got sick, and no one's connecting the dots that she got sick after she lied so much on Taylor's name. I can't help but feel like the spirit of Ogun is playing a role in all of this. It's preordained. You feel a dig me, coach? Now, once again, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody's bad moments. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody in bad health. I hope she gets the necessary help. We at Recency Bias Radio care a lot about mental health. A lot of what we do is based around supporting black people in their mental health. But just because I feel that way does not mean I cannot see how Paloma deserves some support from everyone who discusses the game. But with that said, we got to get into more players whose game are negatively impacted. And I was on Kyle, but I think similar things can be said about Kyle's game that we said about Monty, but he still benefits because he has more. I think Inception is more likely to try to recruit Kyle to turn on Monty than they'll recruit Monty to turn on Kyle. So if that makes any sense, Kyle is still in a power position because now if they are forced to flip from Mamba and work specifically with Inception, Monty's at way more of at a disadvantage because clearly he preferred Mamba over Inception, but so is Kyle. The difference is Kyle still has a lot of prowess amongst the rest of the house. And I personally do believe Daniel wants to work with Kyle. I personally do believe Joe would rather work with Kyle than work with Turner. But Turner's all he can afford to have right now because let's just be real, Joe ain't that smooth around the ladies like you think he is. He still sounds like a football coach out there talking. The only thing they say nice about you is, well, he has nice eyes though. Like you know you ain't got that many good traits out here in these streets when basically these people out here calling you Lord Farquaad from Shrek. I'm just keeping it a bean in these streets. That's what people are saying about you, Joe. I ain't trying to roast you, Frank Castle. I gave you a great nickname, but I'm just telling you, you can and you will be cooked.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm
in
getting
any
cooked.
moment. Okay? Nothing personal. But, so we might as well go to Joe now. How does his game get negatively impacted by Paloma? Number one, I believe Paloma did have a decent relationship with Joe Picciarelli. I don't believe she had that much of a relationship with Turner until most recently when she started to spaz out a bit. Now, with now, people tell me spaz isn't a good word, so I shouldn't say that. Let me redact that. Before she started to tweak out a little bit, I think that's safer. But with that said, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to be as professional as possible with delivering this news. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, so let's get into Joe Picciarelli. Let's get into Frank Castle. How is his game negatively impacted or positively? I think it's positively impacted. With Paloma gone, it pushes Monty and Kyle, who feel like the kingmakers of the season so far, closer towards the men's alliance. Okay? By pushing them closer towards that alliance, this does increase the likelihood that Michael wanting out Joe Picciarelli or Turner next week doesn't happen. It increases the likelihood that the women don't get to split up that duo uh, next week. And anytime that duo does not get split up, it's bad for the women's side because everyone is vying for Monty and Kyle's true loyalty. And because Monty and Kyle won't give anyone a true RSVP, a true promise that they'll show up to the wedding, it's like Kanye said, show up when they cutting cake. You know what I'm saying? But people ain't trying to go through all them speeches and stuff. We trying to get to the part where y'all turned up already. And I feel like Joe Picciarelli, he's thinking far ahead. He wants that five to make Final Five because he knows they'll outnumber the other two. And when the numbers are that low, sometimes it is just based around who has the most numbers at the end. Because you can win HOH, but if your homie don't win veto and you don't win veto, who really cares? You're in Final Four, but you're surrounded by 3 hounds. You know, it's very important for that 2 to chop that other 3 down to 2 and be 2v2 in Final Four. Now, we've seen some instances where people have been, basically uh, uh, Commando Noob 2, Modern Warfare 2, one man army season. We've all seen that before. We've seen certain players win out before. But it's very few and far between that we see those type of situations. Usually the dominant alliance makes it to the end with each other. Okay? You rarely ever see that person went out that wasn't supposed to pull it off unless it's a nerd archetype that yokes people. Then you see it. And even then, the nerd is usually aligned to the majority alliance. It's just the majority alliance turns on them too late. But so in Joe Picciarelli's case, he benefits immensely from the fact that she's gone. So let me just say that. Now let's get into Turner. Similar to Joe Picciarelli, he benefits immensely from the loss of Paloma, ladies and gentlemen. I think Turner benefits the most because he was so obscure. Now with Paloma gone, that's a lot of influence in the women's room. I think Turner already had a decent relationship he was trying to establish with Indy. Sure, he lost a lot because he was establishing something with Paloma, but I don't think Paloma even tries to talk that podcast stuff with him if she wasn't feeling not her best. I think that played a role in Turner's social game seeming like it improved a lot, when in reality, he's just been following around Joe Picciarelli like a lost puppy. I think his game improves, but I don't think it improves that much because at the end of the day, for all we know, Kyle could just decide, I want to stay loyal to Alyssa. Monte could decide Amira is the showmance for me out of nowhere, and they could just stay loyal to Mamba, and that benefits Michael going right after Joe and Turner too. So in reality, you could create the argument that in those situations, we need to see more to really know what's going to happen there. That brings me to Michael. How does this impact him? He has a lot of options. He clearly has one side he could work with that incorporates Daniel, Nicole, Brittany, and Terrance. Now, I think this is fantastic for Michael's game in some ways. Number one, by Paloma leaving, he has a built-in excuse for flipping on Mamba before he gets the okay to flip. Because you got to understand, now that Paloma's gone, Michael has to feel expendable. Because in theory, Alyssa and Ameerah have each other. They sleep in the same room. In theory, Kyle and Monte have each other. Now, I'm not saying Paloma and Michael had each other, but what I'm saying is Michael has to realize he's the fifth wheel in that group. That's not a good situation. I'd argue now, because Paloma's gone, it is advantageous to flip, work with Terrance, let bygones be bygones with Daniel. See, the problem is, though, in the edit, Daniel's telling us he's still after Michael, and that's why I kind of feel like me saying this is me asking for Michael's downfall. So Michael's best option might be to flip back and forth and just play a middles game. And that's why I said in my rant earlier today that he's playing quite similarly to Monte and Kyle, because technically speaking, it feels as if he is full throttle loyal to people, but he technically leaves a door open to where he can do what he wants, and he has the whole what would Janelle do thing going for him as well, so you know he's got a stunt. Next, let's get into Brittany. I think her game will either take the biggest hit or it will benefit the most from this. The reason why I say this is because if the vote doesn't apply, and we all thought the vote would screw her over anyway, we all thought Paloma or Alyssa would win that vote. If the vote no longer applies, then she already can get her game face ready for a competition. That could help her deal with the nerves. Also, I ranked Brittany first in my worst to first for a reason. I believe there's an inner fire in that player that she can't wait to let out. I believe she is the type of player, if you let her escape this week 1, it's going to get really dangerous because you're not going to want someone to be backstage pass week after week after week because then they'll get a chance at backstage boss week after week. And if you keep putting them in backstage pass, in theory, fans will start to believe they're underdogs and vote for them more. You got to use reverse psychology sometimes, and you just can't count your chickens before they hatch. And you got to realize that's not the smartest gameplay, letting them repeat. Now, for all I know, the rule could be you can't be backstage pass 2 weeks in a row. Maybe I'm wrong. But what I am saying is, I really do think Brittany's game benefits because Michael's game, in theory, now he has more reason to pivot. And Brittany, because Paloma's gone, it's almost like a shot was fired at their group while they were conspiring on Brittany. And it's almost like she benefited from the spirit of Ogun having the sisters back. You feel me? Because he showed up to bring balance like Hotep Thanos does all the time, it's almost as if Brittany now has a second life, a second chance at life, you know? So I'm happy to see where this goes because if production scraps the twist entirely and just does an HOH comp because of what happened to Paloma, oh, Brittany benefits a lot because she gathered a lot of intel. Now she has to know people don't trust her that much because Alyssa has warned her of such. Alyssa's game has taken a big hit because she's been so close to Paloma. I think in a somewhat fashion, Indy's game, who we can discuss now, I think her game takes a massive hit. I think Paloma allowed Indy to seem normal by being so eccentric sometimes. And that eccentricity, I think it created a parallel and the it brought the deeper human out of Indy more. Now, I think Alyssa is also good with Indy as well, and I think Indy flips a switch when she wants to have a huge accent and when she doesn't, just as much as Jasmine does. I'm reading the comments, I'm seeing what y'all saying. But with that said, I really do think Indy's game is negatively impacted 1,000% because she was already someone who was easy to target for a lot of these stronger players to get an easy week. No one believes she's really that strong, but they saw enough in the veto to think she's strong enough to be okay with letting her go. Um, yeah, I think any person who was one of the stronger personalities in that women's alliance, all the other members of that alliance took a big hit, and that brings me to Ameerah. Ameerah is probably the one player in that alliance whose game took the least hit for me, and that's because she's always kind of kept the escape door unlocked, right? She's always had her evacuation planned out, right? And that's why she took it so personally when Brittany tried to throw under the bus to Joe Pucciarelli. Because in my opinion, Ameerah wants her escape route to be with those kind of guys that she believes she can best in the comp. Turner and Joe Pucciarelli. I don't think Ameerah wants to be called dead versus a Monte, a Kyle, or even a Michael Final Four. I don't think she wants to be anywhere near that. I think this is a big reason why Jasmine stayed. I think Ameerah probably talked her off that ledge. I think Ameerah views Jasmine as the perfect goat to drag to the end. And I think that's why Jasmine was on Ameerah's side when it came to Brittany. It was as if Jasmine was just a pre it was as if she was a pre-programmed computer or something. And all Ameerah had to do was give out commands, and Jazz was like, okay, when I have the chance, I'm going to do this and gain this information from her and bring it back to both of y'all and blah, 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 you know. And see, the thing is, Indy was already worried about losing Brittany and making it easier to target her. Losing Paloma makes it easier to target Indy, too. Now, in theory, you could create the argument, well, it's easy to just target Brittany and Indy. Because at the end of the day, Alyssa's going to use the white girl crying technique to somewhat, hide how she really feels about what's going on. And this could turn Alyssa into someone who wants Taylor out even more, believing, oh, it's because of you playing the victim and not allowing us to run with a narrative that wasn't anti-black, that took my girl Paloma and put her in the one flew over the cuckoo's next room. That's what happened, okay? That's what she gonna think. And I hope that isn't what she thinks. Because at the end of the day, there was no avoiding this. That's what it sounds like to me. Pre-existing condition season. I don't think anyone could have avoided this. So I'm hoping Alyssa sees the light, sees value in Taylor down the line, and isn't just gunning for her out of respect for Paloma's legacy, because that's what the queen would have wanted. We don't need that BMX action in these streets. They tried to crown him, but we let him off the hook. Well, I'll tell you one thing. We ain't letting no one off the hook in these streets, boy. If you give Taylor a second chance at life production, this season finna get litty in the city. But anyway, next let's talk about Jasmine. How is this impacting Jasmine's game? Listen, I don't think Jasmine has a chance of winning this game at all. All right, even with the "I'm married" story, no one cares. Um, she does so much talking. By the time it's time for a final two speech, people are going to be tired of hearing that. Listen, we got to roast right now. We got to talk. We got to tell it like it is. And at the end of the day, Jasmine may have wanted to evict because she lost Paloma, but this is a huge red flag for me, Jasmine. Because for you to want to quit because you lost a friend, that tells me, and see, if I was on the other side of the house and I saw that Jasmine was thinking about quitting, I would smell blood in the water like it's a Jaws movie. Dun 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 dun. You feel it? Dig me. It's time to eat. It would get lit in these streets. See, this is why I don't understand about the players of today. They don't understand when they got it good. But not. But yeah, so at the end of the day, Jasmine, this is karma as well for being off code. I mean, I can't listen. Come on, Jasmine. You can't look at all of this and not think it's karma for being off code this season. All of y'all treated the black woman like dog shit because y'all was hiding behind Paloma's fiery personality. Y'all believe Paloma could lead the charge to get Taylor out. Now that Paloma gone, y'all don't got the will to fight this battle no more. That's what it looked like to me. That's what it looked like to me. This looked like where was Khal Drogo from? It looked like them. If Daenerys Targaryen was gone, they'd be like, oh, we don't really want to travel the whole world and fight in snow. We cool. We from a hot environment. What are we doing here? You know what I'm saying, Coach? But in terms of Jasmine, I just don't get you, Coach. I don't get what you're really doing here. It always felt like you weren't trying to win anyway, so I think it's ironic you tried to quit because someone else did. Are you that much of a follower that you decided to follow her out the damn house? Oh, she's getting tore up, Coach. Oh, she's on the ropes. Oh, should finish her. Dun 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 dun. You villain, dig me. I gotta go crazy in this one. This is a rant y'all do not see coming, so I can go crazy on it. Knowing when it's uploaded, the streets gonna love it. Alright? You ain't gonna like it because the hood gonna love it. Watch it, young. Show is out in public. You really dig me? I got the whole block bumping. You ain't gotta like it because the hood gonna love it. You feel it, dig me? But anyway. Alright, we gotta get people lit. It's late at night. I gotta keep y'all up, alright? But so yes, I think Jasmine's in big trouble, Coach. Big trouble. I think she knows her social game was very reliant on Paloma's social game. Also, she started off in the porter potty competition with Paloma, with Monty, with Kyle. I'd argue Jasmine's price of entry was her relationship with Paloma in doing anything with Monty and Kyle. Now do you see when she tried to follow her out of the house? Now do you see why? See, I be spitting bars out here for free. It ain't nothing to me, alright? Listen, this could have been Patreon exclusive, but I had to bless the culture one more time. I had to do it. Because I'm realizing that people are ready to listen. And when they're ready to listen, you start to love teaching. But, so now we can move on from Jasmine. I've pretty much somewhat discussed Ameerah. At the end of the day, Ameerah's game takes a hit, but she still has a lot of pivoting prowess, and she put her eggs in other baskets. She should be all right long term, depending on if she decides to flip, work with Michael, possibly Brittany, and Daniel, and Nicole, and Terrence. I think that could be Ameerah's best option now. She has to know that Indy isn't as loyal to her as she would be to Alyssa. She has to know Alyssa isn't as much of an asset to her if there is no Paloma around. And at the end of the day, Jasmine showed the entire world she's a free agent now because of what happened to the girl who she was in porter potties with in Paloma. By Paloma leaving like that, Ameerah has that number she can pick up a lot easier than Brittany or Indy. Now, there's a chance Alyssa could pick up that extra number, but I just think Jasmine is more likely to listen to Ameerah than she is to listen to Alyssa. So yeah, that was my thoughts there. All right, so I think I've pretty much ran through almost everybody, huh? Oh, I didn't go into Nicole. I believe this happening to Paloma, even though Nicole is not going to acknowledge it or see it now. This was amazing for your game, Shawty. So this is amazing for you. I think Paloma, you had a blind spot there. I don't know if you had the hots for her. I was alluding to this in rants past, but I'm being honest. I didn't know what angle you were coming at this with. You feel it, dig me? I'm talking dun 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 dun. Like I didn't know what angle you suck. I didn't know what you was doing. Because you keep switching from babyface to heel on us. 1 minute you're defending Taylor's honor. Oh, she's real with it. The next day, you're hating on her, but you tell us in the edit, you know something is up, but you gotta run with it. All right, well, now that Paloma gone, you gonna keep running with it, or you gonna pick up Taylor as a number? It's time to pick her up. If you're Nicole, you should want Brittany gone this week, or Alyssa. You shouldn't want Taylor or Terrance gone. You need them both. When you're building a rebel army, you can't afford to be picky. You will dig me? I don't care what your skill set is. I don't care if you can throw forks at 20 miles per hour at people's face. That's a good asset to the team. Just don't do it to us. We're going to wear helmets anyway, just in case. You feel it, dig me? Like, I'm just saying. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on Nicole. I do believe she benefits a lot. They were already trying to include her in the Six in the City. So, in theory, Nicole could be brought into the fold to replace Paloma, possibly. A lot of the women within that alliance already think the world of Daniel, besides possibly Indy. In theory, that could work. In theory. This would allow Terrance to flip, somehow work with the women. Terrance is sitting good now. He always wanted to work with Michael. Michael's more so leaning towards the women than I'd argue Monty and Kyle. This would help Michael's game as well because that keeps Brittany, it keeps Terrance, it keeps Daniel, it keeps Alyssa, it keeps Ameerah all on the same side for Michael. In theory, that's the game Michael needs to win the game. That's a very similar Andy Herron type game. There were a lot of women in that alliance that took down Moving Company and dominated the game. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on that. So I think Nicole benefits among the women. She probably benefits the most in the game. She won't see it now because she had an affinity for Paloma, and we all like certain aspects of her. Let me not act like the girl was like the worst thing ever. I mean, she was entertaining. Y'all heard me. I was willing to let Brittany go just because I thought Paloma and Alyssa were too entertaining to let go, no matter how I felt about them. But yeah, but that's tough. People. I don't think Paloma was the biggest super fan in the world. I think she was a recruit. Um, but it sucks to get an opportunity such as this one and have it, squandered. Now, some of this sounds like it could have been avoided on her end. We don't know for a fact yet. I'm not going to jump to conclusions with this one. That's why we're going to stick to the strategy of it all. But yeah, I think Nicole's game benefits a lot, and if her game benefits or not, the outgoing HOH and Daniel, his game benefits immensely in this situation. I mean, we really got to think about this for a second. This guy went from the guy who did everything to please the house by throwing up Taylor, which is what she would have wanted him to do. Paloma, she would have wanted him to put up Taylor in that situation. His speech was basically backing up Paloma. Everything Daniel did was to respect Paloma. If this season is played in a fashion where everyone does things to respect her honor or her legacy, that benefits all the people who have kowtowed and kissed her ass up to this point. Now, I'm not saying these people are going to grow into the next apex production pets of tomorrow or nothing, like Legends of Tomorrow, Pets of Tomorrow. I'm not saying that. Hashtag that one, by the way. But I'm not saying they're pets of tomorrow. But what I am saying is production has built-in incentive to help these players last longer in the game. And when you have twists like these that I've already alluded to, could disincentivize players from wanting to throw up big targets because they get a second veto comp, even if you throw them up initially. It's one of them things where, do you just want to nuke your own game? And that's the tough part about it. So, yeah, I think Daniel's game benefits considerably because I thought he was walking into a buzzsaw next week, nominating 3 people he should have kept safe that he'll need next week. But there's still an opportunity with Paloma leaving that he could also we could end up losing 2 members of a 6-person women's alliance. If this doesn't show women's alliances are cursed, I don't know what will show them that. You literally had a 6-person women's alliance that decided with their first big trophy on their wall, they wanted to put a woman's head. Not a man's, not an alpha male man's, not something that would show, oh man, this women's alliance, it's on that Black Widow survival Micronesia side of the game. They didn't even go that hard with it. Okay? They chose to go after a black woman. And in doing so, I truly believe they stirred up some African witch doctors on their ass. I'm not, listen. I'm not cracking jokes or nothing. I'm cracking jokes, but I'm not trying to be callous while cracking them, okay? Oh, that's a good line right there. But see, what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, a lot of things I say are inadvertently funny, right? I'm actually being quite literal. I'm just subliminal at the same time. And it can be seen as criminal, but you know I'm the first, so I'm seminal. Always spitting bars out here. But yeah, so at the end of the day, Coach, Daniel's game benefits considerably, just like Nicole's does, in my opinion, because they worship the ground Paloma walked on. Nobody's going to think they did anything that contributed to the perpetuation of her insanity, if you will, allegedly. I believe this could fall back on Taylor's plate next week, though, because if she does survive, okay, and let's say she does survive, Paloma's gone, and they lose Alyssa. Listen, I can see a situation where Kyle and Monty have it out for Taylor equally, because that was both of their showman's interests. We hate Taylor. Why did she get to stay but not them? That's why part of me kind of does want to see that reality. You will dig me, Coach? I don't know. I think it would be funny as hell, wouldn't you? I don't know. I feel like people who have suffered through the first week of these live feeds being as atrocious as they have been, we at least deserve a house flip to the point where the people who were feeling on top of the house now feel on the bottom. We're in need of that. We need the people who feel ostracized to feel in control for 1 week in the first 2 weeks. We need that side effect to kick in. No pun intended. But yeah, we need that to kick in, you know. But did I leave anyone out in my assessment? I think I talked about everybody today. Oh, I didn't speak about brother Terrance. I believe Paloma leaving when she did was exceptionally good for Terrance's game. Number one, Paloma was going to go after Terrance. She was going to nominate him. Now, most likely she would have nominated him to probably go after. I don't think she would have went after Brittany, because that would have aired out the entire women's alliance. It would have got it completely exposed. So that would have forced her to go after a guy. She was aligned to Michael, aligned to Monty. I think she was set up to probably nominate a Turner, honestly. Maybe Turner and Joe, if she's really feeling big about it. But I think she would have nominated Terrance. You know what? I could see a situation where she nominated Terrance and Nicole as initial noms. Nah, she had a decent relationship with Nicole. I don't think she would have did that. I think it would have been like Terrance and Turner, probably. And then they would have reassessed after veto, knowing about the backstage and all that other stuff. And they probably would have had a member of their alliance as the backstage boss. So they would have probably constructed it in a way to benefit them long term. Yeah, Paloma going out when she did is a huge L for them. But with that said, this was the one possible week for Daniel as a smart HOH This was the one possible week to get rid of a member of that six regardless, if he was smart enough to do it, because three of them were in the backstage pass with no vote this week. So he had an opportunity, because the numbers were so dwindled on their side votes wise. He had the opportunity to guarantee with Indy on the block that possibly you backdoor someone next to her like a Brittany, okay? Well, not a Brittany, because Brittany is in backstage, but let's say Ameerah, because she did so well in veto. This would guarantee, without a doubt, one member of that six-person alliance goes home, because 5 out of the 6 are all in danger. The only one that wouldn't be in that situation is Jasmine, who we all can admit is the worst player out of the 6, hence why she tried to follow someone out the damn house. So, listen, this should allow Jasmine to make jury pretty easily, because she showed complete weakness. In terms of everyone left in the house, I pretty much ran through everybody. And that's the way I see the game, ladies and gentlemen. I see Paloma being a big loss for entertainment factor. I'm aware of that. I see her being a big loss for the Women's Alliance fans who actually like them. But I see her being taken out of the game as karma for how she just immediately just used microaggressions to stereotype that black woman Taylor, turn her into a house target. Listen, you played the game well to turn her into a house target, and she did you a lot of favors to make that job really easy. I'll admit I'll meet you halfway there. But with that said, you also went about it in a fashion that was a bit unbecoming of who you are. In my opinion, I expect better of people. There's ways to go about getting your point across without outright lying on people's names, compromising black men with black women to get your way. I mean, the way I look at it, what Paloma did with Monty to turn him on the black woman, in a weird inverted way, it reminded me of what Danny and Nicole did to Davon to turn her on David and Kevin. It reminded me of the same exact level of manipulation, the dark arts involved in it all. But so those were my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't want this video to be too long. Paloma is rumored to be out of the game officially. They can't put somebody in as a late replacement. It wouldn't be fair to that new player. They'd probably get sent right out no matter how anyone feels. Like, how do you even introduce yourself late into the game? Now, I've seen certain twists in Big Brother's past, bring in a player like a week later or something, but all those players are always screwed as soon as they arrive. It's never worked out for a player. We saw Allison immediately get into a showmance in one season. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter how you shake it, it just doesn't work out for players when they're brought into the game late. And we've seen a lot of black players get done dirty with those type of scenarios as well. But ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts. It's a tough situation for Paloma fans out there. I know people thought I would just crack jokes on her specifically the entire time, but I tried to bring some constructive criticism to the mix, the strategic acumen that you know is Apex, and the sense of humor to break some news that's on the surface level quite heartbreaking. But with the added context, I feel okay in saying to a certain extent this was karma for doing Taylor so dirty. With that said, I wish the young woman all the best. I don't wish ill will upon anybody. I just feel like this is an example of how you got to be careful how you treat people. I believe she mistreated Taylor to the nth degree. And I believe now her not being in the game, and we don't know why she's not in the game. What's the true diagnosis? I'm not no doctor. All right, don't come to me for none of that. But if I had to give you all the psychoanalysis of the game player, she started to show the signs of breaking. She was the one her women's alliance looked to for the morale boost. She was kind of the team captain, okay? Because she was both a white girl and a girl of color. She was kind of Amira, Jasmine, and Alyssa combined, kind of. That's why she kind of was the glue of what they had. Jasmine wanted to quit because she knew, oh shit, I'm in the inferno now without this chick. You feel dig me, coach? You don't like that inferno no more, do you? See, the inferno, it's all fun and games when you put other black folks in it. But now that your half black ass got to deal with some of the same smoke, you crying uncle, huh? Nah. See, we gotta talk about it. See, we don't rock with the inconsistencies out here, Jasmine. Let's keep it a bean in here, Juicy J. You talk a big game, but most of the time you be lying up in there. I'm just saying what it is. But with that said, the women are likely to scramble. Two of them were already nervous being part of the backstage. That's why I could see production scrapping backstage this week. Problem is, if you scrap backstage this week, how do you justify bringing it back week to week to week? I don't know. I kind of feel like now that people know what the surprise is, they know what the twist is, it's not fair not to have it week one. That's not fair to Daniel's game. Because everything he did was under the premise that he knew a backstage comp would possibly come, or that there were these backstage pass members he couldn't choose from. It just creates a weird situation if you just scrap it. I think they'll just scrap the America's vote of it, because then it will be a lopsided comp with 1 versus 2. In theory, the 2 on the block could work together to screw the 1, believing they both could stay over the 1. I think in this situation, only Brittany would go home over Terrance. And I think Brittany possibly stays now over Taylor because Paloma's gone. I think there's a chance if Paloma was still there, they possibly vote Brittany out over Taylor. And see, that is the one situation here where it could hurt Taylor. I don't think we discussed Taylor. Did we discuss? I thought I discussed Taylor. Maybe I saved the best for last in these streets. But this could really hurt Taylor because it could guarantee that Taylor's not on the block next to a Brittany if the vote doesn't work. Because in theory, what if Brittany won the vote, so she would have been the boss? Brittany is not someone who can then, if she would have won the vote and became the boss, in theory, then Taylor had to win that comp, or else she's stuck on the block next to someone she can never stay over. Now, if Brittany doesn't become the boss, she doesn't win the vote, she competes in the comp, and Taylor gets the matchup she wants next to Brittany. If Paloma was still around, I believe Taylor would have a shot. Think it's still a long shot because Monty wants her out badly. Kyle said she disrespected her. Turner is anti-black and said the same thing. She disrespected him. Joe Picciarelli got his middle finger out like Stone Cold Steve Frank Castle in his mug. You feel it, dig me? Down. Well, you feel it, dig me? He calling her Tiffany. It's all bad. I still believe Brittany would have stayed over her. I'm not buying the BS. But there's a chance, and in Taylor's mind, she could stay over Brittany, so I'm going to say it to y'all. I'm not buying it in case it happens later tonight and y'all see it doesn't work. But, so yeah, Taylor benefits in theory, but only if she wins the comp, in my opinion, and gets off that block. If she wins that comp, the supersonic wave, it will ring out through that house. Zingbot might announce himself weeks before he shows up. You feel it, dig me? I'm talking the photon cannon. It's gonna be on the special beam side of the game. I'm talking Piccolo action. Alright? I'm being honest with y'all in these streets. Listen, if you allow this sister to have another chance at this game after you showing her your true colors, if she gets a chance to know that she should gun for HOH when a lot of y'all have incentive to throw, because a lot of y'all don't know what Taylor knows, which benefits Taylor if she guns for it this following week. Now, if Monte guns for that HOH, refuses to throw it to Taylor, Taylor somehow wins it over Monty, and she gets revenge by backdooring Monty. Oh my God. Listen, man, listen. Monty, maybe that Girls Alliance cursed you too. I don't know, bro. It ain't looking too good for you, bro. Ever since you talked about being Puerto Rican, ever since you act like Mike from Survivor 42 in this mug, with your red man looking ass, ever since you did that, it's as if you invited a whole swarm of karma to come and smash your favorite alliance. I gotta be honest with you. Listen, Monty, if you're not careful, the Shadow Realm will await your presence. I've already predicted you won't make it past the jury segment. Look, I'll be shocked if you make it past the 5th boot. I'll be shocked. But I don't know if you got it in you. I'm still spitting bars. Oh my God, I'm going crazy. But seriously though, I don't know if you got it in you, man. I don't know if the Delaware in you gives you the correct skill set to deal with the game without Paloma, your apex pet? I don't know. And the way you have disrespected and disregarded this Sister Taylor in the pursuit of the panties, you have turned yourself into a pompous poser. And at the end of the day, we can't really look at you the same. And I don't think Taylor's going to respect you anywhere near the same. And now that she knows that you misconstrued her words, which could have led to Paloma's situation, I don't want to see Monte blaming this on Taylor, because he did not have to approach Paloma with that information. If anything, I want to see Monty feel a little guilty about the fact that he decided to confront that girl with information he should have kept in his brain as a savvy player and used it to really assess all the women information. Instead, no, I'm going to be forthcoming with this Demolition Man settings. But when it comes to Jasmine's information on Taylor, I'm not going to share it with Taylor at all. That stuff ain't cool, bruh. Look at Jasmine. She want to quit. Paloma, she already quit. Why are you into all these women? They ain't got no fight in them. Don't you want a woman by your side that can fight the fight with you? I thought the Greek lifestyle taught you that much, but damn, I'm shocked. I'm really at a loss for words. And that's why I'm very anxious to see how a lot of these players play now without Paloma to hide behind. Because for some players, they never had that luxury. The shadow realm awaits. For other players, they've always had that luxury. Now they got to play off easy mode. The game becomes more intriguing. And that's how I look at this game now. It's sad what happened to Paloma, but it was more sad what's been happening to Taylor. Shoot. At the end of the day, all we want is a game that is fair. And I think Paloma showed the signs that she needed help, and it's only fair that she got her help. I think it's only fair that Taylor still gets the same equal opportunistic shot at saving herself. What I don't want to see later tonight is them scrapping the twist altogether, which guarantees Taylor goes home next to Terrance. That's what I don't want to see. That is the worst possible scenario for Taylor's game by losing Paloma today. Or yesterday. Whichever way you want to look at this thing. Those are the different ways you can see this. But I'm Dave Smith for Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. And these were my thoughts on Paloma's rumored eviction. Caught me off guard late at night. People say, please discuss it. Patrons, please believe y'all going to get this a little early. We're going to give it to the public in the morning and give them something to feast on before we get into the later rant later in the day. But I hope everyone enjoys this rant. And this is my thank you to all of y'all for making my past few rants very successful. I appreciate y'all. And just know, I'm the no-sleep assassin. They call me that for a reason, all right? All right, y'all. Y'all have a wonderful night. And it's sad what happened to Paloma, but hopefully this is the best thing in the world to happen to Taylor. You feel it, dig me, coach? We got to take these W's and we can get them. Deuces.